Now available in paperback, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Pick up your copy of John Haynes at Death's Door at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. In a previous video where I reviewed the movie Black Adam, I said that the movie was mid or mediocre. And the reason why I said that the movie Black Adam was mid or mediocre was because the film had a weak screenplay. Now, in order for a movie to be great, all of that starts with the screenplay, which is the foundation of the film. And when you have a strong screenplay, you have material that the director can work with as related to creating the shots for their visuals, and you have material that the actors can work with towards developing a character on screen. Now, your Black Adam basically had a script that was two-dimensional in that it had the instructions for a director to go out here and make the shots for the visuals. Unfortunately, it didn't have a story there as related to the characters that was on screen. And that was the major problem with Black Adam, in that, yes, you got some fantastic shots as related to the visuals and the special effects. Yes, the pictures were there, but the problem was with the characters in the story, because the writer, while they were busy setting up the sequences for the action, did not go out here and set up the motivations for the characters. Now, when you're writing a screenplay, yes, you need to make sure your action is solid, but you also have to have some psychology as related to your characters. And the big problem with Black Adam was that the writer didn't really focus on developing the psychology for the characters in the story, and that made the characters in some cases, like Cyclone and Atom Smasher, very one-dimensional, and it made other characters like Black Adam and your Dr. Fate and Hawkman very two-dimensional. Because when you're writing characters, in order for them to be three-dimensional, you need three traits. One, you need the visual of the character, which is what they look like. Two, you need the personality and the voice, which are the internal character traits. And three, you need the psychology, which is getting in the head of your character and finding out what motivates them to go out here and participate in the actions that they're taking. Now, the problem with Black Adam is that it lacked that third dimension as related to character, where we don't really get inside of the characters' heads to see what is motivating them to participate in their actions. No, we don't really get into the heads of these characters and really see who they really are. No, they are just there to just move the story forward, because they're two-dimensional. They have a look and a voice, but they don't have any sort of mental motivation that really drives them. Because with these characters, you don't really get any sense of what's inside their head, what flaws they have, and because they don't have any sort of psychology to them that lets us get inside of their head to see what really drives them, what really motivates them to go out here and do the things that they do, then it really does not allow us to get to know them as people, and that prevents the film from answering the third critical question that I talk about that screenwriters need to answer before they put fingers to the keyboard. Why should we care? It's important to go out here and understand the psychology of your character, because if you don't understand what's going on in your character's head, then the audience doesn't know, and if the audience doesn't know, then the audience has no reason to care about the story that they're watching. This was something that I learned when as I was working on my own screenplay all about Marilyn, and I had to figure out what would motivate your Marilyn to be in this story. And the whole thing was she wanted to break away from the character that she was playing, the Nikki Desmond character from the show All About Nikki. And I had to get into the head of the Marilyn Marie character and realize what was keep making her want to move away from that character. And what was motivating her to move away from that character is that she wanted to be able to grow up and get on with her life. And that was one of the things that everybody could relate to. You don't want to wind up being stuck in one space of your life because it leads to arrested development, and as you grow, you just grow old and you don't grow up, and people don't see who you really are as a person. So when I wrote that screenplay, I wanted to get into the head of that character to find out what is motivating her. And that was something, sadly, that the screenwriter who wrote Black Adam did not go out here and do, because they weren't trying to adapt the material like Sid Field talked about in his book, Screenplay. No, what they wanted to do was try to bring a comic book to life, not understanding that comic books and screenplays are two different mediums. And yes, your comics have really strong visuals, but there needs to be that third dimension when you're doing film, because film is moving as it's going along, and we need to be able to see what motivates that character to go out here and do the things that they do. And with your Black Adam, the problem was we really didn't get a good sense of what Teth Adam wanted to do, because he was a background character in his own story. And that was a big problem with Black Adam's screenplay, because it was written from a passive perspective instead of an active one. And because they wrote it from a passive perspective and made Adriana Tomaz and her son the main focus and not Teth Adam, we really didn't get a good sense of his psychology and what motivated him to go out here and be the hero, because he really wasn't the hero of the story. He was in the background of his story, and he was supposed to be an anti-hero. But the problem was, again, the screenwriter did not do enough research on film to understand the concept of an anti-hero. Now, as somebody who has watched films with anti-heroes like Billy Jack, who was in Born Losers, or your Dirty Harry movies with Clint Eastwood, I understand that the anti-hero is somebody who is reluctant to be a hero and wants to stand as a hero because the true hero has not gone out here and able to do the job. So they reluctantly take on the role of the hero, and in order to do that, they have to be in the main focus. Because if you watch the movie Born Losers by the late Tom Laughlin, it clearly shows you how the anti-hero operates. Yes, once Billy Jack comes on the screen, he is active on the screen as the center focus, and he is the center focus because he's reluctantly doing right because the people's heroes have failed. And again, this was because the screenwriter didn't really understand the concept of the anti-hero. They didn't do the research, and again, they didn't understand the psychology of the character. And because they didn't understand the psychology of the character, that's why your Black Adam struggled as a movie to resonate with audiences. Because as a screenwriter myself, I understand the importance of psychology to storytelling. That was one of the things that I learned watching Batman, the animated series. I learned that psychology is something that motivates a character, and if a character's psychology is off, your entire story is just going to fall apart. And if you don't have the right psychology for your characters are not going to be characters that are going to catch the readers or the viewers' attention, and they're not going to catch their attention because, yes, they can have a great look that's flashy like many of the characters in Black Adam, but if there is no substance to that character that allows us to get to know those characters and get to know what motivates and drives those characters, then the audience just isn't going to care. And that was the problem that Black Adam suffered from as related to its screenplay. Now, your Black Adam was a very entertaining movie, and yes, it was just like a Geoff Johns era comic book, but when you're writing a screenplay, you have to understand that this is the audience's first entry point to this character, and the entry point that was given to the character with Black Adam just was not strong enough to go out here and get people to care about the character. I mean, the way this script was written was like it was a DC comic that people had read for years, and it was not written like a screenplay that introduces a character to an audience, because this was something I had to learn when I was working on bringing back the John Haynes character. I mean, I just couldn't come in and just say, oh, I'm going to bring John Haynes back like nothing new, like nobody, like he was always there. Because when I wrote Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, I said I had to bring him back in a way that people would first be introduced to him. And I also had to do it again when I started the John Haynes series. I had to reintroduce the character so that the audience could get to know him, get inside of his head, see what motivates him, and see what makes us care about him. I understand that whenever you're writing any sort of material, every time you do it, it's a new entry point to the audience, and you have to guide the audience so that they can get to know this character, get to know what motivates them, and gets to know them as people. And what they tried to do with Black Adam, where they fumbled the football with the screenplay, was they tried to make it where they were going to make this character an anti-hero, and instead of making him the Shazam rogue, he actually was. But they really couldn't do much there because, again, Zachary Levi's Shazam movie was very goofy and very silly, and Black Adam was a very intense and serious character, so there would have been a problem mingling those characters, and that's probably why Dwayne Johnson wanted to do a solo movie. Unfortunately, when he did the solo movie, he didn't have the right screenwriters because the wrong screenwriter went out here and told the story from a passive fashion in the first 10 minutes instead of showing us an active story where we saw who Black Adam was, saw the psychology of his mind, and got a reason to care about the character. These are important elements to a character, and again, a core element to giving a character a third dimension is that psychology, because inside of that character's head are their character flaws, inside of that character's head are their mindset and their frame of thinking, and inside of that mindset is what really grabs the audience and shows us how distinct this person is. Yes, you can have a great look and a personality and a voice, but once you have the psychology there, that's when you have a character that starts to resonate with the audience. And again, Black Adam had a problem as related to its psychology, and it was that problem as related to its psychology that prevented the audience from being able to see him as a person they could identify with and relate to. Because when your character's psychology is on point, then the character is somebody you can go out here and say, hey, that's somebody like me. Hey, that's somebody who's living an experience like my experience, or this is somebody I want to be like. And that third dimension can mean the difference between a movie being a blockbuster you see 3 or 4 times, or a film you see once when it comes to streaming. So the screenplay is the most essential part of a film. It is the core foundation of a film. It is the building block that everybody has to work on. The director uses that screenplay for their shots. The actors use it for their performance, And in order for an actor to go out here and be able to play a character effectively, they need to have not only a personality and a voice, they need to have that psychology presented in between the lines of that screenplay in order for them to understand what motivates their character, what makes their character struggle, and what is just makes for their character's internal flaws. These are the substance that give an actor something to work with when they're playing a role, because when an actor is playing a role, they need more than, hey, I'm playing a superhero. I need to know what motivates this person to put on this costume and go out here and fight the good fight. I need to know what's driving them. I need to know what's there that makes them do this. It can't be like Atom Smasher and Cyclone, where they just put on costumes, or are part of the Justice Society of America, and are just there to just be background fodder. No, you need more than that. You need what we saw with 2002 Spider-Man, where we really saw psychology as related to Peter Parker and what motivated him to be a hero. And what motivated Peter Parker to be a hero is that he wanted to be a man like his Uncle Ben, and he wanted to be a responsible man like his Uncle Ben Parker, and he wanted to atone for the mistake he made by just shunting his responsibility, which led to the death of Ben Parker. And it was all about Peter's motivations for growing up to become a man. Again, there was lots of great psychology in 2002 Spider-Man as related to why Peter wanted to be a hero. And that's the type of psychology that makes the difference between a classic like 2002 Spider-Man and a popcorn movie like Black Adam. Now, if you want to pick up my screenplay all about Marilyn and see how I use screenwriting techniques in my first screenplay, you can pick that screenplay up on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And I also have scripts for my television show all about Nikki, and you can see how I write scripts for television as well by picking up All About Nikki, the fabulous first season, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle as well. And I also use psychology in writing my other stories and novels, like those in the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and novels like The Temptation of John Haynes, Eternal Night, The Thetas, and A Recipe for Success. And again, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find all of these books at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me make more videos about writing, screenwriting, or comic books, science fiction, and fantasy, you can help support the channel and help me stay on the air by going out here and donating to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Given to temptation, pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback. Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Get your copy of Eternal Night